All right, everyone. Now it's time to talk about the Trump Veepstakes. Of course, they call him Veepstakes because everyone's expecting him to win. I would notice again, and I will always point this out, whenever you see a legacy media article about Trump and who he's going to pick for his running mate, they call them the vice president. They don't call them the running mate now, do they? That's a tell, psychologically speaking. Link in the description, archived, of course. I believe that the Veepstakes matter far more than in normal elections. The same is true for Joe Biden. Unfortunately, he's sort of locked in with Kamala Harris. Yeah, D-. We'll give you a mercy D as far as being a running mate. Watching her get destroyed in the subsequent debate, which she will be funny. Admittedly, I'll probably be live streaming that if I have the time and the energy available to do so. It doesn't really matter who Donald Trump chooses as far as a counterbalance to Kamala Harris. That's not what's meaningful. Anyone can destroy her in a debate. I prefer Tulsi Gabbard. She appears to still be in the running. She's not necessarily listed in the financial disclosure forms that were sent out by the campaign. With that, you've got Burgum. You've got Marco Rubio, actually. You could actually do worse than that. You've got a variety of people. Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, Cotton, etc. You've got a number of people, and I've weighed in already on this. What I would say, though, is that, and I'm not saying this to berate Donald Trump. He's on the older side. He's in his mid-70s. Therefore, your running mate matters more than if you were 55 or something like that, for optical purposes. I think that Trump is going to live into his 90s. I think that he'll be just fine. I don't foresee any health problems. But the average person, Joe Public, or Jane Doe, the average person conceives of it as being more meaningful than that. I'm Team Trump, of course, and so I've got a little bit of bias. I wear it on my sleeve. It's no surprise to anyone. Yes, I'm voting for Donald Trump. That being said, for independent voters, you need to have somebody who can quickly take up the reins, who they feel comfortable with. It's just like, it's a counterbalance to the Biden administration. Think of it this way. Joe Biden's in his 80s. He's elderly. He's an old man. He's also not particularly well physically or mentally. The problem is that his running mate is fucking psychotic. His running mate is terrible. Donald Trump simply has to choose somebody who people would look at as better than Kamala Harris. Well, that's easy to do now, isn't it? My problem is that Donald Trump has had some hiring problems before with regards to the people that he puts in his administration. It's iffy sometimes. So I'm hoping that he chooses a good running mate because that person has to be able to take up those reins at a moment's notice, and that's the long and short of it. I don't believe that will happen, but for some independent voters, for some undecided voters, they're definitely in tune to that. Pick somebody, therefore, that is not too far right, somebody who's not like a Mike Pence, like a neocon unipartyist, someone who is outside of the political spectrum generally. I would choose Tulsi Gabbard. I would say that that would be the best possible pick that Donald Trump could make. If he announces that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be his running mate, I will cheer, because he's won the election. He wins it immediately upon that selection. She's already trashed Kamala Harris. She's a former Democrat. She's got the military service. She's got the political service. She's got everything that you could possibly fucking need. And I think that it would be a slam dunk. Unfortunately, I do not expect her to be the one that's chosen. At this point, I think you can go with Rubio is acceptable. I have no problem with them. I realize some people from the 2016 generation, like myself, have a big problem with them. I personally would see him as innocuous. I think that maybe taking him out of Congress is not necessarily the wisest political choice, but you could use him. You could also use J.D. Vance. I realize that he's a little bit on the slippery side. It's not necessarily the A-team, but it's doable. I think Ben Carson is also a good choice. Quiet, unassuming, very, very good at debating, though. I mean, he'd take Kamala Harris and split her skull open, basically. In the verbal sense, of course. I think you've got a plethora of people that could serve that role, but it plays a disparate role. It's not the same as if somebody, like when Obama was running. Okay, he's in his 40s. He's younger. Nobody's expecting him to die. If anything, they're worried because he's black, he's going to get assassinated by the Klan or something like that. His choice, therefore, of VP was a little bit more diminutive. It didn't matter so much who he chose. He only did that for show. That's why he chose the old white dude. That's why he chose the plantation daddy sort of dude. And figured that'd be a counterbalance optically, and it worked. It worked perfectly fine. He had a court jester who would crack jokes and sort of be like something from a movie about the Jim Crow era, basically. Well, I'm your boy, and you's my daddy. It's basically Ebonics when you think about it. Very strange. With Trump and Biden, they need to choose more carefully. The problem is that Biden's VP is already locked in. And we know how Kamala Harris operates. And it's not in a good way. It's basically, I'm an absentee. When I do show up, I make mistakes. That's basically Kamala in a nutshell. I haven't seen anyone on the short list who would possibly fail debating Kamala Harris. Ramaswamy, Byron Donalds, who I think had his Kristi Noem moment the other day, Gabbard, all of these others, Carson, I think they would all out-debate her. But that's not the point. You need optically to choose somebody who can take those reins at a moment's notice because you are old. That's the long and short of it. You are 78 or 77 or something like that. You're an old dude. I think that Donald Trump will live another 15 years reliably. I think that he's in good health for his age, has no problems apparently. It's not like Joe Biden who thinks that he can sit down in thin air, and there's apparently a song, a dance called Let's Do the Biden, and people crouch down and then, I don't know. You never get that with Trump. You get some TDS, but that's about it. His VP, though, is very important because of the optics for undecided voters. They haven't made up their minds yet, and they're like, okay, on the one hand, I've got Joe Biden, so stagflation and all these other problems, open border. I've got Kamala, she's a psychopath. Okay, on the other hand, I've got Trump. Maybe they like him more for the economy and things like that, and I think they lean towards him generally speaking. But who's he going to have as his second? Who could be president if he croaks? Because he is old, admittedly speaking. I think that it's much more meaningful than people are giving credence to. That's about all. Peace out.